Well, I mean, the fact is, there's two things. They want to divest from Israeli companies. So the divest movement, which was high and then it gets low, and now it was before October 7th was kind of simmering. Now that comes up. So how much these universities invest in Israel and those companies are one thing. Number two is they are pro-Palestinian. They're anti-Israel. And I think that the big story is if you're not happy with the school and their investment strategies, if you're not happy with the policy of maybe the Middle Eastern Studies Department, go to another school. These people are not happy with the management of these universities. So why are they even there? In Tufts, in Rice, and MIT, at Emerson. You're seeing this pop up at Berkeley. You're hearing about all these other smaller protests. But the one that got out of control yesterday was NYU. You're seeing it.
Yeah, NYPD Deputy Commissioner said that they received a letter from NYU requesting to clear this Gould Plaza, and individuals refused to comply. And so they repeated this request to disperse, and they didn't listen, so some of them were arrested. Let's bring in Lawrence Jones. He is having breakfast with our friends. He's in Allendale, Michigan. If you're in that area, go out and talk to him. He's at the Nest Egg, which is a diner in that area. Lawrence, I'm sure you saw last night Robert Kraft, the Patriots owner. He was on with Sean last night, and he said the school he grew up, he was born in an observant Jewish home. And he said the school I love so much, the one that welcomed me and provided me with so much opportunity, is no longer an institution I recognize. And he announced that he was pulling his support. Let's take a listen to this and get your reaction on the other side, Lawrence.
When I went to Columbia, it was a place where people listened, were empathetic, had compassion. And now, we have professors who, instead of teaching how to think, that they're trying to tell our young people what they should think. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have to do something about is really tenure in these universities where people can do things and don't have accountability.
It's a great point. You can't fire him.
It's interesting. Yeah. I'm sure he's saddened as someone that gives so much to the college and not have the college in return to stand up for basic human rights, which is saying we want to exist. Will made the point earlier when he was asking Todd, is it just a regional thing? Or are these just the liberal universities? Is this just happening in North? No, it's happening all across the country. One of my professors on my university, the University of North Texas, sent me a message yesterday, and he was like, Lawrence, it's happening here in Texas as well. I would never give $1 to University of North Texas until they fix this issue. You got kids all over the country that are suddenly wearing kifas all over. Like, is there sand here in America now all over where is there sudden sun like the Middle East? And then you got the blue-haired liberals that are suddenly with the cause of the Palestinians. Meanwhile, they wouldn't be able to live there in Gaza. I mean, we have lost our minds. I mean, I wonder if the parents of these children that are paying for the college, or I guess we're paying for the college now since Biden wants to build back better, are they seeing their kids in the middle of the street calling their fellow Americans deaf to them? We're in Michigan now, whereas Dearborn, they were saying deaf to our country. We have lost it, guys.
Lawrence, I think that's the operative point for me. We can and we should analyze, by the way, why so many young people poll disproportionately from anyone else in this country on the side of the Palestinians. And we could talk about the fact that it has to do with, teaching from the professors, the role of TikTok, whatever it may be. But what these movements, again, whether or not it's at the University of North Texas, Rice, Berkeley, Yale, or Harvard, need to understand is, if young people want to have a debate, an earnest debate about, Israel and the Palestinians, they're going to have some ability to distinguish that from death to America and support from Hamas. That's the problem. It's all wrapped up one and the same. Your protest is chanting intifada. You are not simply saying, and by the way, when you say, well, Will, you're using the proverbial you. It's not everybody in the crowd. Well, you know what? I think it was you, Lawrence, the other day that said, if a KKK member is standing next to you and you're at a rally, you might need to disavow that member of the KKK. And all of these protests are veering into anti-Semitism and hatred of America.
Well, it started out. Didn't it start out, didn't you feel like it was we need a ceasefire. We're worried about the innocent women and children that are living in that area. We need to send them south because the north is getting bombed. Everyone was worried about humanitarian aid. Then it evolved into really what this is about, and we're hearing death to America in Michigan. We're hearing I am Hamas on one of the college campuses, and we're hearing from the river to the sea, and we know what that means.
NYPD KKK is another phrase coming out of NYU yesterday. Really? It's a minority force. Most of those officers last night were black, and you're telling them they're KKK. So get yourself educated. Number two, just understand this. The Palestinians are run by Hamas. 80% of the Palestinians in Gaza supported the October 7th attack.
Correct.
They continue to elect Hamas in the last election that they had, and they're very popular in the West Bank, too. So you can't distinguish between the two. The Palestinian Authority is non-existent. They're corrupt as the day is long. I don't want any innocent people killed, but the IDF is going out of their way, the best they can, an extremely dense population, to weed out the terrorists from the innocents. It's an impossible situation. We're making it worse by trying to sanction certain divisions of the IDF yesterday, which is insane, telling them not to finish off Hamas in Rafah. So think about from the Israeli perspective. They're a democracy, imperfect as all are, working their way through, and now we find out our number one ally has got a next generation that seems to be pro-Palestinian, which for the most part support the terrorists.
Two things on that, Brian. How insulting not only to the IDF, but the American military. Guys, we train with them. Their hostage rescue team, we adopted a lot of the policies and the tactics that they did. We are linked in arms. We do training exercises all the time. So it's not just a direct assault on the Israeli military, but on our military as well. The second thing is, look, I have no problem with people having points of views. And, you know, when people are younger, they have radical views and then they grow up and they understand what the real world is. The problem with what's happening in America right now is the ideology that they're professing, it's not just a liberal ideology. It's anti-American. It's not congruent with the American value system. And so my question is, how did we adopt an ideology that is in the Middle East? People are leaving the Middle East to come to America because of our freedom ideology. And we want to be there. We want to be them. That makes no sense to me. I'm not willing to negotiate with those type of people.
Yeah, I wonder how many of these are transferred or overseas students that are coming over here creating havoc.